start off the wreath laying with our Member of Parliament, Dr. Colin Carey, followed by our Member of Provincial Parliament, Jennifer French, the Mayor of the great city of Oshawa, Dan Carter, and the Honorary Lieutenant Colonel of the Ontario Regiment, Nancy Shaw. Wreath bearers will lay the following wreaths on behalf of the following organizations. Ready, Mr. Jarvis? Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 43, and Ladies Auxiliary. Royal Canadian Legion Branch 637. Harry Arthur Brown, 2nd Battalion, World War I. John Hodgson, Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry Highlanders. In memory of Les Cheater Hoos, World War II veteran. Canadian Corps, Unit 42. Canadian Corps, Unit 42, Ladies Auxiliary. Oshawa Naval Veterans Association. Korea Veterans Association. 420 Wing Oshawa. 1913 Ontario Regiment Cadet Corps. The Ontario Regiment Association. Polish Veterans Association. Polish Canadian Congress. Canadian Forces Recruiting Centre, Southern Ontario Detachment, Oshawa. Durham Regional Police Service, Central East Division. City of Oshawa Municipal Law Enforcement. Central Lake Ontario Conservation Authority. Oshawa Seniors Community Centers plus 55. Secondary teachers and professional student services personnel of District 13. Lake Ridge Health Foundation. Ontario Tech University. Pathwise Credit Union. Durham Catholic District School Board. Thornton Durham Region Labor Council. Canadian Mental Health Association, REMEMBRANCE. Club, Oshawa. Salvation Army. Greater Oshawa Chamber of Commerce. UP Local 218. Oshawa Fire Services. Oshawa Professional Firefighters, Local 465. CBI. Durham District School Board. Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario Durham Vocational Teachers. Durham Region Association of Realtors. Durham Crown Attorney's Office. Oshawa Historical Society. Oshawa Folk Arts Council. Knights of Columbus. Moose Lodge 2132. Durham Harley Davidson Owner Group. Downtown Oshawa BIA. Rotary Club of Oshawa. Heads Up Durham. Oshawa District Shrine Club. Simcoe Street United Church. Brain Injury Association of Durham. Durham Regional Police Association. UB Local 250. UB Local 251. UP Local 9112. MCOD. Jericho Lodge 32. Canadian Jamaican Club of Oshawa, Multicultural Council Oshawa Durham, Oshawa Legion Minor Baseball, the Reed family,
come to bow our heads in respect to you. And thank you for our great country, Lord. We come before you today remembering our country's heroes, both dead and alive. We propose to make this a day, a time to show honor to the men and women whose sacrifices help to keep us safe and free. We acknowledge their bravery, and we don't recognize the sacrificial contributions of each one. Stir our hearts, Lord, with patriotism and thankfulness as we think about our country's treasures, lying in graves beneath our nation's soil, in the soil of lands far away.
Battle fatigue.
May we be inspired to be more abundant
Now we
in our
have
giving
post-traumatic stress
as we commemorate
disorder.
their lives of service to
It's
others.
important to remember those people that come back not as whole as they went over. They gave a piece of them for what the fight was about, whether it be World War I, World War II, Afghanistan, peacekeeping, or as I said, throughout the world today, to try and help keep this troubled world still spinning in the right direction, and for the rest of us to be able to do the things that we like to do. Hopefully we'll be able to do all the things we like to do after this pandemic is over. But in the meantime, as I said earlier, there is a small sacrifice that we should make on behalf of our neighbors. And that's about wearing the mask and about keeping your physical distance. This is what the medical officers are telling us. Important is the way the government is working right now, is that if our caseload goes up because people aren't looking after each other, that's going to affect the businesses of those people in Oshawa. And that's going to be terrible, because there's going to be people out of work, although there still is right now, but there's going to be more people out of work. So we need to remember that. As for World War II, I'm sure we all know that Victory in Europe Day was on the 8th of May 1945, and Victory in Japan Day was on the 2nd of September 1945. We fought in both theaters. We fought in the European theater, Northwest Europe, Italy, and we fought in the Asian and Pacific theater. There were over 1 million Canadians that served in uniform during World War II, including over 50,000 women that served in uniform. Not discounting the numbers that weren't in uniform, either here in our war factories, our ammunition factories, General Motors making casings for the tank ammunition that the Ontario Regiment used, and the factory in Ajax filling them up. And many more people that weren't in uniform that provided the services both for the people that were at home and for the soldiers, sailors, and airmen and women that were abroad that needed that support. More than 80,000 Canadians served in the Asian theater. And in fact, one of the first World War II battles that Canada was involved in was the Battle of Hong Kong. Over 2,000 soldiers, Canadian soldiers, took part in that battle. Unfortunately, almost 300 of them were killed in the battle. The rest, 1,700 of them, suffered the terrible ordeal of being a prisoner of war, of which less than 1,400 out of that 1,700 returned to us, many of them, as I said earlier, in a broken state in many different ways. You read about the war that we had in the Pacific and in Hong Kong. You probably are familiar with some of the atrocities that were done to the prisoners of war at that time. Those people came back to Canada and needed to be welcomed back to Canada, needed to find jobs in Canada, needed to be loved again and respected, honored, and thanked for all the work and all the sacrifice that they made. In total, there were over 45,000 Canadians that gave their lives during World War II, and over 55,000 that were wounded in one way or another. We must never forget that we owe the peace and freedoms we enjoy today to all those who served, and those who continue to serve in our Canadian Armed Forces, standing at the ready to defend our Canadian values anywhere throughout this very troubled world. We also remember and pay tribute to the families who lost loved ones, and the families of those who returned with physical or psychological injuries. That's a hardship on that family. We thank the families of all our veterans, as well as the families of our serving sailors, soldiers, airmen and women, because without their support and unconditional love, all might be lost. This is a much smaller Remembrance Day ceremony than we usually have. Last year we had over 3,000 people here. And we put out the advertisement to ask people not to come to the park. Those that decided they're coming, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're social distancing, I'm glad you're wearing the mask, and I want you all to remain safe. So now I'm going to call on Ms. Vanessa LeBlanc, the president of the Branch 43, to make some remarks. Vanessa.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is great to see many who have come here, even though it was suggested to be virtual. As we stand on this important part of Oshawa, it was established in 1924, the cenotaph. Behind me holds a stone from every country that fought alongside our Canadian soldiers in the battlefields. This is a place where our veterans, their families, their friends, come to remember those who are not with us. Oshawa is a very military town. As you see today, we had several service clubs that support our veterans, their families, the communities. When you wear your poppy, let us remember those who are not with us. Let us wear it with pride, and let us teach those that come after us to remember and never forget the sacrifice that our veterans, their families, and the community has given in order to be free. Let us never forget.
Thank you, Vanessa. We'll shortly have the last post played by bugler Stephen Nelson of the Salvation Army. This will be followed by the silence, the ode to our fallen, and then a lament by Branch 43 Pipe Major Andrew Herc, and then the bugler will play the rouse. Some of you may know it as Reveille, depending what arms of the service you served in. Bugler, last post. They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. For the blessing.
We remember today all those who have come before us and given the greatest gift to our democratic nation, their lives. Their duty, their honor, and their lives are precious gifts that must be given to the future of our country and our families. The duties of our veterans, past and present, is the fiber of the word freedom, and is stronger by our recognition of service and sacrifice. We honor that service and sacrifice today and should carry it forward for our children to honor. Freedom and democracy are the result of all of the most honorable this country has produced. Today we stand to remember the most honorable amongst us, and we must continue to carry the burden of their sacrifice, lest we lose the sight of what true freedom is. Today is for remembering. Stand in honor of them, walk in their path of duty. Remember the cost, and hold in your heart the cause of freedom.
Thank you, Father. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us today as we remember them. I'd especially like to thank Rogers TV for assisting us here today with both the live broadcasts so people can stay at home and safe or wherever they are, and through the webcast. Just like to remind everybody that you don't need a ceremony, you don't need Remembrance Day to thank a vet for remember our fallen, to respect those that have gone before us and given us what we have today. Our national anthem, please. And when you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. Mr. Jarvis, march off the colors. Thank you, and I hope the world will be a much better place this time next year so we can have a full gathering for Remembrance Day. Thank you very much.